Hey guys, what's going on? James here. In this video today, we're talking about very unfortunate news as David Walker, the 4th-round draft pick of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, suffered a torn ACL in Friday's practice. He is having season-ending surgery. He was off to a very good start, but now his rookie season is done. Very unfortunate for David Walker, very unfortunate for the Buccaneers. Shout out to Peter Report for being on top of this reporting as well. And firstly, I want to say this. I wish nothing but the best for David Walker in terms of his recovery. It sucks, dude. He now has his entire rookie season taken away from him. He won't get to experience that. So I wish him nothing but the best in terms of a speedy, healthy recovery. Okay, now where do the Tampa Bay Buccaneers go from here? Because really the only thing that David Walker can do from here is just focus on rehab, focus on recovery, and come back stronger next season. Okay, but what do the Buccaneers do from here? Well, they're going to place David Walker on the season-ending injured reserve. He's not coming off of it. He's pretty much done. Like, maybe at the very, very end of the season, right? Since this happened so early on in training camp, but that is a pipe dream, in my opinion, right now, talking about the situation. But where do the Bucs go from here in terms of their defense, in terms of their edge defender situation? Well, where David Walker was on the depth chart right now, at least in my opinion, was he was your 5th edge rusher. I think it's safe to say that Hassan Reddick and Yaya Diaby were your number 1 and number 2 edge rushers. After that, you had Chris Braswell, who was in there. He might be your number 3. Anthony Nelson was in there. He is a guy who they've brought back multiple times on contracts. He was either going to be your number 3 or your number 4. So really, David Walker was going to be competing for a number 3 or number 4 spot, but it wasn't certainly a guarantee. I think right now, today, at the time of this injury, he was likely going to be your number 5 edge rusher. So, do the Tampa Bay Buccaneers add another guy into the mix? Do they just roll with what they have? We did talk about the possibility of them adding a quarterback if a roster spot did open up. Do they look to add a quarterback now with David Walker's injury? Let's take a look at it. So, this pretty much, to me, solidifies your top 4 guys, okay? Hassan Reddick, Yaya Diaby is your 1 and your 2. Chris Braswell, Anthony Nelson is your 3 or your 4. Now, there is going to be a battle between Anthony Nelson and Chris Braswell, not including David Walker anymore, of who's going to be your number 3 edge rusher off the bench, who's going to be your number 4 edge rusher off the bench. David Walker is just not in that battle anymore. And whenever we take a look at the edge rushers who are still on this roster, you have guys like Jose Ramirez. He is going to be a guy now who gets a stronger opportunity to make this roster. He made the roster last year, was inactive for pretty much every single game for some unknown reason, but he was still there as a depth piece. Warren Peoples is another guy who is going to be battling for a roster spot. Now, you also still have Marquise Watts in that mix as well, but if the Buccaneers do decide to carry 5 edge rushers, look, Marquise Watts is still an option, Jose Ramirez is still an option, and Warren Peoples is still an option. No disrespect to Mr. Warren Peoples, but it seems like that 5th outside linebacker spot would likely come down to Jose Ramirez and Marquise Watts, 2 guys who have been in this system before. The Buccaneers have liked throughout their developmental process here the first couple of years. So I think that the first step to think about is that, hey, Jose Ramirez and Marquise Watts, their chances to make this roster just increased by a pretty decent margin. But let's for the sake of it, take a look at some veteran edge rushers and talk about maybe some guys who the Buccaneers may take a look at. And look, whenever I take a look at this list, okay, firstly, there's a lot of different names, right? I mean, a lot of different names that people are going to be familiar with. I mean, Matt Judon, Preston Smith, Zadarius Smith, Jadeveon Clowney. I don't necessarily think the Buccaneers would go for a bigger name. I suppose they could, but whenever we're talking about the makeup of this Buccaneers depth chart, going out and getting a more notable name doesn't make a ton of sense in terms of Judon, Preston Smith, Za'Darius Smith, Jadeveon Clowney, things along those lines, right? One name that does pop up in my mind is Shaq Barrett. Do the Bucs look to bring in Shaq Barrett as a veteran presence to say, hey, dude, you're going to be our fifth edge rusher. We'll bring you in. I mean, Barrett did say when he came out of retirement last year, it wasn't just for a, single few games or whatever it may be. He was looking to play for another year, maybe two. So does Shaq Barrett get brought back in the case of this injury? I think contextually, whenever you look at the roster and where Barrett's role would be, yeah, bringing in Barrett would make a lot of sense at this point. He's not going to be your number one, number two edge rusher. He's going to be a veteran at this point, another voice in that locker room. He's a strong locker room leader who can continue to teach Jose Ramirez and a guy like Marquise Watts, even, teaching guys like Chris Braswell in there, continuing to teach Yaya Diaby in that mix as well. Bringing in Shaq Barrett would make a lot of sense. And I know, people are going to roll their eyes and be like, James, geez, come on, give me a break, dude. You're always wanting to bring in Shaq Barrett. But whenever we look at this situation, the context of the roster and whatnot, it does make a lot of sense in my opinion. I guess you could bring in an O'Shane Ximenez. That could be an option. I don't know, Carl Lawson, Tyus Bowser. If you wanted a fifth guy, those names make more sense than your top names up here, which, probably would be competing for number 5 spots, roster spot types of things. So I think they're probably going to bring in Shaq Barrett, if anybody, by the way. If anybody. They don't have to bring in anybody. Marquise Watson and Jose Ramirez may just be your guys there. But they may want to get an extra body in there, so I don't know. We'll see. But what do you guys think about all this? Let me know your thoughts and opinions about it down in the comments section below. I'd love to hear it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hope y'all enjoyed. And as always, guys, I'll see you all in the next video or the next live stream. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now, and go Bucs.